Welcome back, chemistry fans. What we get to do tonight is a little activity you're going to do in the class. You're going to take your hats and you're going to try and, oh no. What we're going to do is we're going to try and turn this into an atom, okay? And so it's going to be a little awkward with the camera. You have to bear with me on this one. So I've got a few examples that I want you to build, and you're going to watch me do it as well at the same time. So here we go. So I've got these on screen. Lithium-7. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to build lithium-7. I'm going to try and show it to you then. Lithium-7. So here we go. So let's see if I can maybe make it where you can see it. Okay. So you have all these pieces at your disposal in front of you. And there are these things that look like X's. Well, if you turn them slightly this way, they turn into positives. And so lithium is element number 3, so it has 3 protons. And so we would need to put 3 protons in the middle. Now, the other side of this that you're going to have to know is that lithium has 4 protons, because that 7 is going to be represented by the mass number. So it would have 3 protons and 4 neutrons. Now, if we look at the periodic table, and I'm going to show this to you, here's what I want you to start playing. There are going to be 1, 2 electrons on the first ring, and I'll show you why here in just a second. And then there's only going to be 1 on the third ring. So let's see why that is. Let me share with you my screen one more time. And we're going to get into a periodic table, and I want you to look at where lithium is on the periodic table. Lithium is element number 3. So it has 1, 2 on the first energy level, and then on the second energy level, it has 1 more. So if we were to look at where the 3 electrons are, 2 on the first and 1 on the third, you would notice that's exactly the way I have it presented here. Okay, so now we're going to do another example. Again, I would encourage you to practice it on paper. Stop the movie before you just watch me do it, because I'm magical. You need to be able to do it on your own. Magnesium 22 is what we're going to do. Magnesium number 22. So let's figure out where it is on the periodic table so that you can understand where I'm coming from. Magnesium number 22 is the mass number. So magnesium is element number 12, and it has a mass number of 22. So let's try and make that work out, and let's see if we can build. And I'm not going to erase what I already had, so I'm just going to start with what I had here. I had 3, and I need to build this up now to 12 protons. So I will take my neutrons off so it gets a little less confusing though. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All right, so I've got my 12 positives in here. Now the mass number is 22. So that means it's only going to have 10 of the neutrons. So I got to fit in 10 in here. Boy, it's going to get crowded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whoops, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm just going to pile them in here now. I've got 10 protons. I've got 12. So I've got 12 protons and 10 neutrons, but I only have 3 electrons. Here's what you're going to have to know. The first energy level always has 2. That's the maximum it can have. The second energy level can hold 8. So I'm going to put 8 on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now that means I put on 10. So where would the next ones go? They would go out to the third energy level. So the way that these energy levels work is 2, 8, and then the next one can have more than that. So let's take a look on the periodic table and see if we can figure out how that works and corresponds to, I'm sorry, the periodic table, how it's going to correspond. So with magnesium, notice how many are on the first energy level. 1, 2 on the first energy level. That's why we had 2 dots on that. And then on the second energy level, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then on this third energy level, I had 2. So 2, 8, and 2. That's exactly what we showed you in the last example. All right. The final model that I want you to build is vanadium 23. Holy Moses, there's a lot of positives on here. So give me a second while I erase some of this and make space. We're going to have to do some stacking to get that on here. Vanadium, if you notice, its atomic number is 23. So vanadium 51 is what we're going to try and build. So I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to build vanadium 51. All right, here we go. Got to place 51 of these things, if you can imagine. All right, so I've got 12 protons so far. So I'm going to have to start stacking. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So I've got all my protons on there, 23. To get to 51, that means I would have to add 28 neutrons. Holy Moses. All right, you're gonna have to trust me on this one. I've got 30 of these things. So I'm just gonna pile them all in here. And it becomes confusing at best because you just can't count all of them. But if we were to take the time to count all of those protons and neutrons, you need to know that there are 51 in there. All right, now the number of electrons. Some of it's hidden. So let me scroll this around so you can see my 2 electrons on the first energy level. You can see the 8 that are up there. Then what we get to do is on the next one, we're actually going to place 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now I've got 16. I've got 18. Once you put 8 on the third energy level, you start the fourth energy level. That's 20. And then for a weird reason, which we'll explain in class, it's going to go back and it's going to put the final 3, because they're in the middle, they go backwards and they fill up an inside energy level. So it ends up, I have 2, 8, 11, and 2. So let's count those off of the periodic table. So let me go back to the periodic table and show you how that came about. So let me share my screen one last time and we will work with the periodic table. So I will have 1, I will have 1, 2 on the first. I will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the third. I start my fourth. But then something weird happens. These ones in the middle, they fill backwards 1 row. So those 3 are where we get the 8. So it would go 2, 8, 11, and 2. Those are how we get to 23. Thank you very much. I hope you've had a good evening and we will talk again soon. Good night.